there's a woman in federal prison who, when I left, I named her the head of the peer success team. We voted her in. The think tank is called the Collective. And the think tank at the Collective at Aliceville is the organization of 15 women who literally run the peer success program, which means that they meet every month or bi-monthly, and they come up with a plan to implement in each unit, right? And so there's 120 mentors who seek the guidance of the peer success program. And whereas I was the creator and the founder, and I was the director for the 18 months that I was there, that we were up and running, when I left, I was like, oh my, before I left about in January, when I got clemency, I was like, okay, somebody's going to have to take my place, and I'm going to have to train them how to do that, you know? And there were there were not that many women, honestly, who I felt could fill my role. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but in the end, it took 3 people to take my place, which works out great because then they didn't have to, you know, worry about it. So one of them is the CEO, and her name is Kat Voss. And Kat Voss is doing a ridiculous amount of life sentences in federal prison. But she is the most amazing artist and the most beautiful person that I have met in a long time. She is driven, she's dedicated, and she painted this for me to go home. And if you're an artist, you understand how tricky it is to take a t-shirt and some crappy acrylic paint and turn it into something this exquisite. This is actually me. And if you can see, there are birds up at the top, right? Can you see these birds? So the birds are significant because Kat had not, there were a few spokes of her wellness wheel when I was mentoring her that were just a little bit off. You know, her work spoke was on point, you know, her intellectual spoke was on point. Her business game was, you know, great. She was an amazing artist and she was very driven, but she hadn't been outside in a while. You know, she was a slave to the unicorn factory. And I was like, Kat, I need you to just make a commitment to come out with me every Friday night and walk the track and sit with me and just like, let's do some stretches and find your zen. And one day we were just sitting there kind of talking quietly and kind of letting our spirit flow, you know, and I said, you hear those birds? And she was like, she started crying. She was like, I haven't heard birds in so many years. And so when I asked her to make a t-shirt for me to wear home, I asked her to do a picture of me holding that wellness wheel. And I think she did it so incredibly well because it's like, it's almost like, you know? It's almost like this, like, well, what it is she captured the fact that it's not just a chick holding the wellness wheel, it's definitely someone who you can tell created something and is giving it away, you know, and so she captured the moment so beautifully. But she put those birds up there and wrote me this beautiful story about how she hadn't heard the birds in 20 years, and that really changed something inside of her. When I first met Kat Voss, she would not be upset if I shared with you that when I was mentoring her, when I chose her as one of the leaders for the Peer Success Program to join the collective and be the leader of her unit, Kat had some unhealthy habits. She was involved in some things that were illegal. And I never like told her, like, Kat, you've got to give that up, you know, if you're going to be a leader in this community. But instead, what I did was like, I told her one day, I was like, before I created this program, I used to let other people use my phone. And that's a really silly example, but that was the only thing I ever did illegally there. Like you're not allowed to share your phone minutes. But there was somebody that I knew that had a lot of kids and, she would always be like, man, can I get a few of your phone minutes? And I never used all mine very often anyway, because, you know, I was busy. So anyway, I was like, yeah, but it occurred to me when I started building the Peer Success Program that I had to be completely above reproach. And when I shared that with the other think tank members, a few of them really took it to heart. And over the course of 18 months, it wasn't about focusing on their negative behaviors. It was about translating old unhealthy habits into really positive habits. And when you start to consciously do that, a lot of bullshit flies by the wayside. And so when Kat came to me on her own and said, it was so beautifully timed because I hadn't named her this, I hadn't nominated her to be the CEO yet. At that time, I was just kind of scoping out who might be a possibility. But she was such an amazing candidate because she takes care of business. Like, I cannot tell you how organized and driven and focused and dedicated and committed to personal change and paying back to her community. Like, it's powerful to watch, she's inspiring. But when she came to me one morning, she was like, Celeste, I just want you to know that, like, I broke up with my girlfriend. I'm no longer in a toxic relationship and I've walked away from a lot of negative behaviors. And I just wanted you to know that, you inspired me to do that. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like, I never judged her, but I just knew that eventually, the method would come into play. And that's what it is. That's what focusing on the 8 dimensions of wellness and consciously finding your balance and understanding that there is power in the 24 hours that we each have. And when you really look at the 24 hours you have each day and start to make a conscious effort, recognizing that everybody on this earth, no matter how rich you are, or where, if you're in prison, or if you're on the beach, or if you're black, white, or in between, the thing that sets us apart, I've said this before and I'll say it again, is what we choose to do with the 24 hours that we each have each day. It's an undeniable truth. And there's so many other things that fall into place that you can, like little red flags. How do you spend your money? The things that you value and the things that you put your money towards define your character, right? It tells the truth of who you are. I came home from federal prison and yeah, I could have gone out and bought a bunch of expensive bags and some fake eyelashes and maybe got a tummy tuck or whatever. But what I chose to do was buy fitness equipment and some wellness products and some supplements and some good organic food, because that's what lines up with the goals that I have right now. Sure, I bought some sexy heels. Sure, I bought some things that make me feel pretty and free, but that wasn't the main focus for me. And so I want to, just kind of bring that up because the 24 hours we have each day is definitely who defines us. It's not the crime you committed in the past or the worst thing you ever did in your life or the words you spoke 3 weeks ago in anger. It's what you choose to do with the 24 hours you have each day. And with that, I'll just say, Cat Boss, you're the boss. All right.